Welcome to the Thrift Store Showdown Jewelry Edition. Tonight, are clip-on earrings worth even selling? How do you tell if pearls are real or not? And what is the difference between fine jewelry and costume jewelry? Well, we're going to answer all of those tonight on Two Dogs Dig's live hall pass this Tuesday. Stay tuned. We'll have some fun. Welcome to Two Dogs Dig's Tuesday Live Hall Pass. Thanks to everyone who's joined us already. We got 22 people in the bigger kennel here. And as you know, we've been doing this fun little thing. It's our second time trying to do it. A thrift store throwdown showdown. And what we try and do with this is we find people who are resellers and thrifters like you and I and Rick and various other people and say, if you had a challenge, we give you a challenge. And here's the challenge we had this time is we didn't, since some people were pandemically closed and we all have profit piles of some kind, it was what could we do as a thrift store showdown for profit piles? And jewelry was one of the big things that we thought of as an immediate place because there's lots of people who seem to have a little bit of jewelry somewhere. And of all things, when you're doing something with a little bit of jewelry, you need someone who's got more than a little bit of jewelry knowledge. And our special guest tonight, co-judging with us is Becky Dick. Hey, Becky, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Craig. It's a pleasure to be here.
So Becky's been in the chat. She watches us all the time. She's also a member and an admin on TCR, the Complete Reseller, run by Tony Boss. It's a great Facebook group that's out there with, I think you're close to like 25,000 members or something like that, aren't you? Or 10,
no, we're not that big. We're like
13,000, 14,000, still way more than I.
It's a big number. It seems like just yesterday it was 2,000.
Oh yeah, it's been growing exponentially. And Becky also goes onto the thrifting board. And the great thing about Becky is she is a jewelry set reseller, a thrifter, estate sale jewelry reseller, and she actually has listings. Not like some people, I got 10 things, I got 10 things, I got 20 things. She's over 4,000 items that she's got listed right now on eBay.
4,300 as of today.
4,300. So shame on us. And you can tell me right now, have I overdone it with my shells and my pukas? From a thing that we had. And part of the reason that we actually decided to have this as well is because I have a partner who has a tendency to sometimes buy things and do nothing on it. Well, we're going to have 3 people joining us tonight. Rick is one of them. And one of the real reasons that I said I needed to have him come is because 2 years ago now, we were at an estate sale. We hadn't bought anything the entire day. And Rick was so disappointed we hadn't bought anything. And he saw on the side baggies. And the baggies had jewelry in them. And the baggie said $10 for a bag of jewelry. And Rick looked down and said, I've bought nothing. How much? Oh, I would like to buy all 17 bags. 17 bags of jewelry.
Please tell me that he got a discount.
And so it really, it's one of the first things that we actually said, which is trying to figure out what do you do? What's the difference when you're trying to look at costume jewelry or fine jewelry or even starting to sort jewelry. So I'm going to try and find the slide, but I'm going to give you a little chance now to do a little more introduction on yourself and take it over for a minute from me.
Sure. Well, I have been selling jewelry from the 1980s when I did it as a hobby with my mom, who is now passed or whatever. And we used to go to garage sales during the summer. And we would collect. And when it got to be around Christmas time, we would set up at a couple craft shows because there wasn't online selling at that time. And we would send out set up our table and we would sell, 4 or 5 shows or whatever. And then December would come, we'd make our money, spend it on Christmas, buy another full year. And year after year after year, we kept accumulating much more than what we sold. Well, my mom passed in the early 1990s or whatever, and I inherited all of our stash. It found its way into my crawl space downstairs where it sat there for literally, I would say 20 years until I got married. I have 2 boys, and my youngest child decided that he wanted to go to a pretty pricey school out in Boston, Berklee College of Music. So I was looking for ways for some extra change. So I remembered I had all of this jewelry in my stash downstairs. So I brought it up and I started selling it on eBay. I've been a member of eBay since 1999, but not very active. But it was really, I would say, in 2011 that I really started getting serious about it. So now it's about 10 years that I've been really gone gangbusters. As a sideline, I'm a CPA by profession, and I just retired 3 years ago. So now all I am doing is selling jewelry. But up until 3 years ago, I was living dual life, CPA by day, eBay queen by night.
Excellent. And yeah, and that's, I remember actually when you had just done the retirement 3 years ago and had just gone into this full time. And it's like, you weren't near the 4,000 mark with your listings.
No. And I couldn't do it alone. So anybody that's actually looking towards growing their business, I highly recommend hiring somebody to assist you. First, I hired one assistant, then two. I'm up to 4 assistants now. So there's 5 of us. Or whatever.
So, yeah, I have one who again just doesn't do half the stuff I ask him to. So I
could do the 4,300 listings by myself, is what I'm trying to say. And having the pandemic last year and being locked in, really not going anywhere for like 9-10 months or whatever, really assisted, because I think when the pandemic started, I was probably close to maybe 2,500 listings. So my goal was to double it to get to 5,000. I never did.
But the thing is, when you've got that many listings as well, you're also almost constantly on a catch up too, because when you've got 4,000 things listed and you're selling things every day,
I'm selling about 600 items a month.
So that's a lot.
I need to list 600 just to stay
even. Yeah. Right. Now, one of the things, as we said, one of the quick questions that we had was, what's the difference between costume jewelry and fine jewelry? And you said, well, it's all about sort of those initial steps when you buy bulk jewelry. So I got this little slide that you asked me to put together for you, and I'm going to pop that up right now. All right. This is the initial steps to sorting bulk jewelry.
And this is where I wanted to start, because this is basically what I do on a weekly basis. Because I go out and I buy one piece here, one piece there, one piece whatever. But very frequently, I am presented an entire tub of jewelry. And I negotiate for a price, and it's like, okay, $150 and it's all yours. And I come home with 20, 30, 40 pounds of jewelry. So I just wanted to share with you my strategy, because sometimes that much volume seems to be so overwhelming. What exactly do I do? So the first thing I do is I start separating, and I make different piles. And initially I make 2 or 3 piles of jewelry. The first thing I do is I separate the fine jewelry from the costume jewelry. And when I mean fine jewelry, I'm talking about anything I believe might be sterling silver or 800 silver or gold filled, or, be still my heart. I get an 18 karat piece or a 10 karat piece or a 14 karat piece or whatever.
And those are usually marked in some way, right? So you can tell.
They usually are. Yes and no. This is where, a lot of this comes from doing this for a long time. You might get lucky. Yes. And as I said, if you look here, separate the fine from the costume. My second thing down, further separate the fine. Silver. Silver can be marked 925. If a piece is marked 925, put it in the silver thing. If another piece is marked 1/20th 12K GF, that means it's gold filled. It's 1/20th of 12 karat gold filled, or it could say 1/20th 14 karat gold filled. It's a precious metal, so you could put that in the pile too. Then if it's pure gold, I mean like 10 karat gold, 14 karat gold, 18 karat gold. 10 karat gold, pure gold is 24 karat. 10 karat is 10/24 of that, making up that piece. 14 karat is 14/24, or if it's in marked European, it's marked 585. So if you see a piece marked 585 and it's looking pretty good, put that over into your fine jewelry, because odds are that's 14 karat. Ditto with 18 karat. 18 karat, sometimes European wise, could be just marked 750. And when I say marked, look by the clasp. that's generally where they're marked. And it could be teeny tiny around, tucked in and around, but it's there. Another thing that I usually throw into what I consider fine jewelry is genuine pearls. And we could talk about, if the topic comes up, how to determine what's genuine and what's costume pearls. And then also gemstones. Lots of times you'll find necklaces with, turquoise or amethyst or whatever. There you go. What you got there?
I don't know.
But the clasp, generally what you do when you have like a gemstone necklace, you look at the clasp. If the clasp says 14 karat on it, odds are it's a good piece. You throw it in the pile. If the clasp says 925, it's generally a good piece. You throw it in the pile. If the clasp says absolutely nothing and it's pretty cheap and flimsy and they kind of look like stones, you could throw it in the pile for further investigation, but odds are those chunks of things that you think are gems are probably going to end up to be glass. Because usually if they're gemstones, they put sterling on it. Usually.
So I think that that's one of the questions we've already actually got in already, which is like, how do you tell costume from fine? And it's like, so when I'm looking at something like this, it's like, I automatically kind of go, I'm pretty sure this is not an antique roadshow thingy where I've got diamonds and amethyst or some blue thingy, topaz, whatever it is in there. I don't have a loop, but it just doesn't feel like a
what
good
you're probably holding. I could pretty much tell just by the picture. What you're probably holding is a, piece from the 70s or the 80s. They're considered prong set rhinestones. They're glass. Turn it over. Let me see the backside. The backside of jewelry tells you much more of a story than even the front side here. And
there's nothing on the back anywhere.
There's nothing on the back, but it's just with the construction of the whole thing there.
Yeah.
So if I had something, like that, I'd probably sell it for like $20, $25 US.
But you would consider this more costume jewelry than fine jewelry.
Right, because it's glass. Anything
shells are costume.
Yes. I don't even bother selling the shells.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
We've heard people sell them, so it's like maybe not puka shells, but I actually have seen those in
they do.
I've had from trips that I've taken, and I've seen them selling them.
So let's get back to my thing here. So then, so now we've separated what we think is the better stuff in one pile. So then everything that's left is primarily costume. And then what you have to do with the costume is you have to further divide that costume jewelry into 3 piles. You have to divide it into piles that have a name on the clasp. It's hallmarked, it's stamped, Trifari, Monet, Hobey, yada, yada, yada. And then the second one is a pile of stuff that looks good, is all intact, but it has no signature on it. And then finally, you have the pieces that are missing stones, are just worn to whatever, are broken, yada, yada. Don't throw it away. Everything has value. But those are the 3 piles that I separated out. Okay. So generally, if I get a bin and I, say paid $100 for the entire bin, I have my pile of my better stuff, my fine jewelry. I have a pile of my signed jewelry, and I have a pile of my unsigned jewelry. And I kind of go from there.
Okay. No, it makes a lot of sense. And again, it's one of those things that, as you said, as you start, for those of us who are newer or who are dabbling into it, that's one of the reasons I thought this would be important too, because people go to thrift stores and they see that the Valley Village or that Savers jar that's been put at like $14.99. And you and I had a conversation about that, which I thought was really interesting, because you said you won't even touch something like that unless you pick it up and you can spot, because what it is in there, and you can go, no, that's this, that's 20, that's for, okay, I know I got 60 or 70 coming out of that $8 jar. Now I'll buy it and figure out what the rest of it is.
But the rest
of us, like Rick, who just go, I'm going to spend $10 on this. I grabbed one of the bags he has downstairs, and I looked at it and I went, oh my. Like, this is like, I looked at it, I wouldn't even I wouldn't pay $10 even. And we didn't pay $10 for every one of them, because we got 17 of them, which is $170. I think we got it for $150, but it would have easily been one of the freebies. And he has one that actually says on it, broken jewelry, that he paid $10 for. So separating them is going to be a pretty good thing. But I think the other key thing for us is then to talk to the people like Rick and Lisa Boland, who's joining us, and Monique Rose, who's joining us right now, because they're all folks who have jewelry from their profit piles and have been sitting there going, oh, this is a bag. This is a box. What is this? What am I supposed to do with this? So I think now is the time. What I'd like to do is turn it over to them as opposed to me and have them chat about stuff. I got great pictures. They sent me a few pictures. They've each got 5 or 6 or 7 items that are like, oh, this is something interesting. So maybe, Becky, you can sort of use your expertise in looking at something and go, you know what? That's a this, that's a that. That's great. That's bad. Throw it out. Wear it. Give it. Do whatever you want. And I know I held up one thing and you were like, oh, $20. I'm like, oh, well, that'll give Monique and Lisa and Rick hopefully an idea on what they can do with stuff. Right. So hello, Monique. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Rick. Thanks so much for being a part of this thrift store throwdown. So how much jewelry do you think you have, Lisa?
Dollar-wise or pieces?
Let's both.
Let's go poundage. How's that? How many pounds?
Probably 20 or 30.
That's a decent amount.
You bought them over the years at places too, and that's the same sort
of
thing?
I do sell stuff locally when I do pop-up markets, but of course not doing those right now. And I've got it sort of ferreted away in my storage, in my basement, in my bedroom, all over the place. So I've dug out some of it for this evening.
Okay. But, Monique, how much jewelry do you have?
About 3 plastic grocery store bags full.
That's the same thing. You've been just out there over the years. You see a piece here, you see a piece there. Do you pick them up at like thrift stores and things like that too?
Yep. And then I have some friends who are downsizing, and they give me a big old bag or box full.
And I guess that's the struggle that like you hit, Monique and Lisa and Rick, obviously, which is like, what do I do when I've got something like this? I don't really know what the next steps are in doing it. So,
you look at it and you start to separate it, and then you get overwhelmed. So you put it all back in the bag and put it aside till next time.
Yep.
You guys, when you say you look at it and you start to separate it, do you ever like put it in piles? Like, okay, this has a name, this doesn't have a name, and like, I do,
but then it goes all back in the bag.
Down to smaller, manageable piles.
Yeah, and then it goes back in the bag until I want to deal with it again.
Okay.
I struggle with. Sorry, Craig.
No, I was going to say that she has to bring it back out and separate it all.
Again. Yeah.
Right.
I struggle with going through the bags and trying to match earrings, for example. If I see a really nice sparkly earring, I want to find the match. So I'm spending too much time actually doing the pattern matching. And it's like, that's not the right one. Let me keep looking. That's probably not the most
earrings first. Yeah.
Probably not the most efficient way of doing it.
Yeah,
So,
and, as I mentioned, like the sorting of the costume and the signed and the unsigned. And then, of course, once you've got that part, then you've got to separate that, the pile of earrings, the pile of necklaces, the pile of bracelets. So that's
and you do that initial sort first, and then you can take the pieces that are broken or missing stones. Right. Unfortunately, a lot of the things I'm finding or pulling out of the pile are missing stones.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, everything has value. And even if an item is broken, as long as it's not Mardi Gras plastic cheap beads or whatever, let's make that caveat here. Everything has value. And generally, I would say $3, $4 a pound value for junk, total junk, broken. But make sure that it's not fine broken like sterling or gold filled, because that's worth even more. Roughly at least, maybe $1 a pound or $1 a gram,
I've got a question here for you, Becky. It's from Holly, and she's asking, it just moved there. Do you clean the jewelry yourself, or do you take it to some jewelry seller to clean, or anything along those lines?
I do any type of cleaning myself. If I do anything with silver, I do, I'm right here. Right here. Okay, that's my silver cleaner. Okay, it's like a paste. It's the same stuff that you clean your silverware with. Like if you were to have silver plated silverware. And this is what I use, this and a toothbrush. Okay, I also make I clean just plain old dirty pieces with dishwashing soap and Windex and a toothbrush and paper towels, blot dry. That's generally my main tools. I never do any of the, if you have anything that's fine, silver or anything, they have a lot of those dunk stuff, the chemicals. Don't do that because it, in my opinion, a lot of people swear by them, but in my opinion, it takes some sort of luster away from it changes the chemical composition of the silver that they buffed all up when they created it. And you'll never get it to be as nice and shiny as it was originally. At least that's my opinion. A lot of people will swear by it. So,
well, Paul says his eyes have already rolled up in his head with all this info so far. And we haven't even started.
And you know what? Let me just say one more thing too. I was a rookie when I dug into a lot of the stuff that my mom and I sold. I thought I knew what I was doing, but believe me, everybody is going to make the mistake of selling the piece. Like this is my one example that I quote all the time. I bought a necklace for $7. I sold it for $175. I was feeling really good until I saw that dealer on eBay put it up on her site for I think $1,350.
Wow.
Now, but we're all there.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, it was like the school of hard knocks, and it was a Trifari too, Rick. It was a Trifari. I should have learned. I should have known, or whatever. But anyway. So.
Well, no, and that's also the thing.
That's very important to know.
As the side thing, and Monique is a perfect example of knowing this, is the benefits of having people who are in groups. So with us, we have the Kennel Club. That's our little exclusive paid group. But the bigger groups that are out there, like Jason, who's also in here. Hey, Jason, with his thrifting board, and for the TCR, for Tony's group, the Becky you are in. That's beneficial when you are finding some of these things, and you might have that feeling. And the reason I say that about Monique is because her mom had found the #1 Barbie. And if she did that for 99 cents and went, oh, it's a Barbie, I'll put it for $50, somebody would have done that. They would have actually said, I'm buying that in a second.
Right.
And then they would have been flipping it for thousands and thousands of dollars. So Monique and Georgette, her mom, were smart enough to go to the hive mind that's out there and actually ask that. So that's one of the things that that's one of
the advantages today. But when I started really getting into this 10 years ago, didn't have it. Even right now, there's people I know, and I think I've done this, I think, to you once or twice as well, is when you build that friendship up, I do it to Lisa constantly. When I'm shopping and I'm messaging her going, what's this? And well, look at this, or bragging or questioning or things like that. So again, that's the benefit of having groups like the Kennel Club and TCR and the Thrifting Board for these sort of things. So that we hopefully won't hit too many of those bumps, but we all will probably do it at one point. Heather makes a comment, you need a loop and an optivisor and a Presidium jewel tester. Yeah, it did. Exactly.
Heather obviously knows her jewelry.
Yeah.
And John says, I don't know what those are.
You need to be able to see that. Okay, so this is a loop. Okay, these are like the basic tools of if you want to really sell jewelry. And in my 4,300 pieces that I have up there, everything's a jewelry. So that's my niche or whatever. That's all I sell. You need the loop because my eyes aren't what they used to be. And some of these marks are really teeny tiny. And I really need to get down there to see it. The Presidium gem tester it's right back there, but I can't pick it up because it's attached to a cord. It's like a little machine. It's electronic, scientific machine that if you have a stone like a diamond and it has like a little wand. Can you see that? That's the wand. Oops. Let's go that way so you can see it. See that? That's the wand. Okay. You touch the little tip to your stone, and then it will it'll register on like a meter, and it'll tell you the hardness, and then it'll tell you what type of stone it is. So in other words, that's the way that you know if you have a stone that looks like a garnet and it's red and it's big or whatever. And you're thinking, okay, is this a garnet or a chunk of glass or whatever? You touch it, it tells you, then you know for sure. And then you could, with confidence, write it in your listing without somebody,
I need one of those gem testers too, but I think it's Becky. Yeah. So let's take a look at some of the stuff that we got some good comments coming in, questions, but let's take a look at some of the stuff. I'm going to put the pictures up. And unfortunately, the way that it sort of shows across, I can't really tell if this is something of Monique's or Lisa's or Rick's. So you'll have to make your own comment about it going, that's mine. So let's go up with the first one. And the first one we got here,
Oh,
I think that's Lisa.
me. That's mine. It's a fairly heavy necklace, but I'm assuming the clasp is brass. It's not gold.
Right.
And the clear beads are glass, as far as I can tell. The blue beads, they're sort of, they must be glass as well.
They're adventuring summer sew Venetian art glass beads is what they are.
Sorry?
Damn! Damn, girl!
It is. Let me ask you. It's hard to tell because I'm looking at my laptop here. I'm also looking at my bigger screen behind me. The blue beads themselves, can you see them like sparkly a little bit? Does it look like gold dust in them?
No, they've got gold on them. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's gold dust. That's the adventurine. That's a type of stone that they grind up and they mix with the glass. So those are the keywords that you want to write down: adventuring and summer sew. SOMMERER. I don't know. SO. I always have to look it up how to spell it.
I'll have to rewatch this in a bit. I
So
don't even have
that
a pen.
necklace, and I'll even just tell you. And yes, you're probably right that that's brass over there as a clasp. If I had that necklace, I'd probably list it for like $39.95 US, something like that, assuming that pearls are in decent shape and not a lot of flaking off of them.
Yeah, there's no flaking at all.
Yeah, so maybe even like $39.95 to $49.95 or best offer. That's what I would take.
Where did you find that, Lisa?
In my bedroom. I have no idea where. I've had it for several years. Probably an estate sale.
Is that an adventuring summer sew?
Yeah, so somewhere I'd have to look it up, but go adventuring and just go adventuring Venetian beads and you'll find it.
Okay, this is another one of Lisa's, so I'll do another one of Lisa's, then I'll find a couple of Monique's.
Okay.
This one's Mexican silver.
Okay.
It's actually
is it marked 925?
925 Mexico. Yeah, I can't make out whatever it says at the top of the clasp.
I think Taxo, TAXCO. Is that what that says?
I don't think so.
No, it looks like it's just a thing. I'm looking at my big screen, but underneath it, it's probably like PU or TO dash and a number. And that tells you the section in Mexico where this particular piece was made. Now, the one thing I have to say, yes, it's marked 925. Yes, it's marked Mexico. And very likely it is because it looks like it's a decent looking piece. But all that is marked 925 Mexico is not necessarily 925. And as I said, 925 means sterling. So if you're going to get into selling jewelry, I mean, for doing it once in a while, you could pretty much list it and say, here it is. And when you would list this, this would probably be a piece that you would have to weigh in grams because on your listing, you have to, state that. And, let's just say it weighs 75 grams. I would say at a minimum, if this is indeed sterling, I would probably put it at $149, $2 a gram. And then, but realistically, it'll probably sell around 125 US. If it was 75 or whatever. It depends. Silver goes up and down all the time. Generally, I usually price it at $2, double the weight. So whatever weight it is, I usually price it at double the weight and assume I'm going to sell it at a minimum of 1.5 times the weight. So that's my sweet spot, somewhere in between.
That's pretty darn good for 2 out of 2, Lisa, from your thrift store line.
But I also want to add, if you're going to get into doing a lot of silver, and a lot, especially Indian silver, Native American silver, a lot of that is not marked at all. So that's common. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to learn how to do acid testing of silver. And it's really, really easy. For like $10 on eBay, you could $10 US on eBay, you can buy a little acid kit. It's a little bottle, and it's a little scratch stone, and you scratch it or whatever. Oh, ask Miss Linda. She knows. I spent one night teaching her how to acid test silver or whatever. But you scratch it and then for sure, because a lot of these are marked or unmarked. And then this way, if you are going to list it, you could basically say in your listing, acid tested as sterling. And then you have no.
My one question with this, Craig, can you show the close-up picture of the chain?
What style it is? I don't know what style.
No, it looks almost like it's silver and yellow. Excuse my.
So it could be a combination of brass and a brass. So that's another reason why I'm seeing that now. It's like brass, and because it actually looks like it's like every other link. So it could be brass, or this could be one of the pieces that is all brass, and they silver plated the parts that look the silver. So that's why you really need to acid test it to find out if it's sterling or not sterling.
So a question, Becky, because you made this comment now, because Lisa actually sells a lot of her stuff on Etsy. So one of the biggest challenges potentially with what Lisa's looking at is if she's putting something on Etsy, it's theoretically supposed to be 20 years or older. Do you sell on Etsy at all, or are you stick to?
Generally what I do is I have some of my higher items cross-posted from eBay to Etsy, but it's interesting, Lisa, because what I always find is I have my pieces on Etsy. They find me on Etsy, but they buy it off of eBay. Why that happens, I don't know, but generally that's how it always works.
Are your prices the same on both platforms? Or?
Actually, they are. So like if I would just say I would be listing it on eBay for twice the gram weight, I would put it as that value on Etsy, but I would assume that and if it sells on Etsy, it would sell at full price, the higher amount. But then on eBay, I always have or best offer, so people give me an offer on eBay.
Oh, okay.
So
Somebody's made some comment. I don't know who has a bird.
Me, I do.
I'm thinking.
You see my picture behind me, Ziggy's Vault. That's the name of my eBay store. It's my.
I saw somebody actually posted. I think Jason said, "I want to see Ziggy," and I was like, I didn't know who Ziggy was. So, a couple of quick comments. Carl, is the U.S. or Canadian dollars? Well, Becky is in Ohio, so
US.
everything she's talking is always going to be in U.S. for us tonight. So, Paul is asking, is there a special scale to weigh jewelry?
Yes, it's basically just get one that you could do grams. I have just a tiny little one. I mean, my postal scale will give it rough, but for like $15, you could buy a little gram scale that can, I usually, it's a tiny little thing, it's cheap.
Now,
but I weigh it in grams.
For your scale, how many points after the decimal does it go?
That's all I go. I have one of my workers that go 2 decimals out. I just go one, so like 52.2 grams.
Okay.
Greg is asking, do you have a quick way to distinguish gold-plated from gold? Is it part of that wandy thing?
I have a duty magnet.
Oh, a magnet.
Gold. If it's gold or silver, a magnet will not adhere. If it's gold-plated, it'll suck right up.
Really?
Yeah.
That is a really interesting thing I never knew.
That's a cheap way. Okay, now if it's brass, it won't suck right up.
Okay.
But it's one way to eliminate some. So if you've got a bunch of sterling silver rings that somebody's trying to sell you, all you got to do is, wave your little magnet over it. If some of them suck up,
very interesting.
They may be marked, but they're not.
Let me pop on to one of Monique. So it's comes up with the question that we started with, actually, which is all about pearls. Pearls.
Okay.
So this is Monique's set of pearls that she has.
Is that all one set, or is that a couple
it's 3 different sets.
Okay.
That's why I just was wondering, is there a quick, easy way to find out if they're real or?
Yep, there is. What you got to do is you take the pearl. Okay. Again, we're trying to separate the good from the, the fine from the costume. Costume will either be glass or they'll be coated plastic or resin.
Right.
If they're real pearls and you put them up to your teeth, I know this sounds crude, but you rub them on your tooth. If they feel like sandpaper on your tooth, they're real. That there are exceptions, yes. There are some higher end costume places that will take real pearls, grind it to a powder, and encrust that over their glass ball. But let's just go for the general,
So for those of us who have not actually rubbed sandpaper on our teeth to see
you
what
won't know it.
I heard that comment once before. It's rub them on, and if they feel like sandpaper on your teeth, it's like I have never done that with sandpaper. Smooth. Okay, so if it feels, because I also part of my challenge is I have a whole bunch of caps too. So I'm like, is there any?
I don't know about that problem.
No, okay, because you never know. We could have people in the audience who could take their teeth and go, "Well, here I'm rubbing them, and it's not I can't really tell." So.
And generally, like some of those Monique or whatever, another way that you could kind of tell if they're okay. So now that one right there, I believe it says Monet. That glass right there. Monets are generally glass or whatever. So if you pick that Monet one up, Monique, and kind of you'll feel the weight of it or whatever. So you'll know that whole strand is glass. Pearls, some pearls have, they have a decent weight to them, but glass weighs more.
Glass weighs more than pearls?
Pardon me?
Glass weighs more than pearls?
Generally.
Okay.
Generally.
And I think the other thing that I've heard, and you can sort of correct me on this, but real pearls aren't perfectly even and round everywhere.
That is correct.
That's one of the sort of real quick things that you're supposed to look at. If something looks
and also too, if they're knotted in between, generally real pearls, they knot in between. So that way, if the strand breaks, all your pearls aren't running all over the place. Although the Monet, as you can see there, it's a glass one and they are knotted. So that's not a foolproof way.
We got some people prepared. Dawn has a loop, earth magnets, and a black light flashlight in her purse.
I have a Presidium portable gem tester in my purse, so I up you one.
Here's a question, Linda. Can you get the same info if you rub two pearls together to see if they're real?
I honestly don't know, Linda. I always rub them on my teeth. You'll have to try that and let me know.
Bob doesn't like the tooth method, so he found pearls in an estate sale, very fine pearls for $3, restrung $50 and sold for $2,000.
Yep, different pearls. I am not an expert on knowing like what are the really expensive Ming pearls, but a general rule of thumb is if it's a real pearl, the bigger, the better. So
here's a Cameo. This is something I think a lot of people find at these kind of things.
Okay.
And I broke out my magnet like you had, and it's...
And it sucks right up, doesn't it?
Yeah, it did.
All right. So here we are. We're looking at, when you look at Cameos, some of the information, some of the things that you look at right away is whether the Cameo itself what's the Cameo made out of? If it's a shell, which is preferable, generally it's like the coral color in the background and then the white, making the picture of the lady. This lady right here, I'm going to guess she's either porcelain or she's a plastic, which we call resin to make it sound better than plastic.
Yeah.
So what is it, Monique?
It feels more like resin.
Okay, so it's a resin. And then it's just, this particular one is just a resin, green, cream, Cameo. I would say this is probably from the 1990s, maybe even the early 2000s or whatever. I'd be happy if I got $15 on this particular piece. Generally, what sells a piece of jewelry is either the appeal to your buyer, the quality of the piece, the condition of the piece, or the collectability of the piece. So when we're talking about costume jewelry, so for sure, like in the pearls here, what you're going to appeal to in who's going to want to purchase your pearls is, do you have the right color? Is it cream? Is it knotted? Or is it white? What's the millimeter of the pearl, the length of the necklace? That's what's going to determine who your buyer is. But for all these, the Monet necklace that you had here, you might get $20, $25 US for it. might. And then the other no-name ones, you could probably, you'll be lucky to get $12, $15 US.
Yeah.
And again, that part of what you're saying here is when you're doing the pictures, if you can get close up to make sure you're getting like showing that what's holding the pearls between each other, right? So the knot, like as you said, this is whether it's knotted in here, whether it's some plastic piece or something along those lines. Try to do as much as you can to try and lift your pricing, because the only way someone is going to search, just like on what we always say, just like with a G.I. Joe or a Barbie or a teacup or anything along those lines that somebody's looking for, the better you have closer up details. If there's a tiny flaw or if there's something interesting, make sure you've got it. And as you've done it there, Monique, it's like, make sure that that Monet is visible so somebody can actually doesn't have to guess at it. And that could probably help you in the sale, the overall sale. I'll pop over to something Rick has.
Now, hold on, I've got a quick question for Becky.
Sure.
Okay.
You mentioned that you should, in your listing, say how many millimeters the pearl is.
The pearl is the diameter of the pearl, and do it in millimeters.
So do you measure with a standard ruler, or do you have calipers?
No, I
Calipers are the
do have a
pinky little
caliper.
things.
Where's my-
Yay! I have a ruler.
It's inches on one side and millimeters on the other side. There we
Okay.
go. Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
And if it's a graduated pearl, would you put for each
Yeah, and then
half
no,
of
I
the
usually don't.
graduation, or the smallest to largest?
That's exactly what I'll do. Like if it's a graduated necklace, I'll generally tell them what the largest pearl's diameter is and what the smallest pearl's diameter.
Okay.
Let them figure it out as it goes. Oh, this one looks interesting. This one's yours, Rick?
Yeah, this is one of Rick's.
Okay. Okay, let's see the back of it. Bring it up. What's the signature?
Hollycraft.
Hollycraft. Hollycraft's a good name. I would say if I had this one, I'd probably list it for like $34.95 US.
Wow. Okay.
Flip it on the other side. Hollycraft is one of the collectible, as I said. It has to do with names, and people collect Hollycraft. This one's in good shape. Was this out of one of your bags?
Yes.
Okay, so now this one's a good one. So this would be I would say a gold tone green. I can't tell if they're prong set rhinestone dangle pin brooch by Hollycraft. That would be kind of my title of this particular one. Date, I would say mid-century, maybe 1955, 1960-ish.
Okay.
And those stones are glass. So when you say, in the eBay listings, material, it's glass.
Okay, I'll take a closer look to see if I can see prongs holding them in.
Yeah, I can't really tell by just a bit.
So the interesting thing there as well, when you're talking, if you're able to do the identification of an item, so in this case, we know that is now Hollycraft, is I think with jewelry, because there's thousands of different things out there, it's not easy to find the exact same one when you're looking on eBay.
And you're not going to. You're not going to find the exact same one.
So when you use something like Hollycraft, is it safe to potentially say, you know what, I'm going to search Hollycraft on eBay, and they all seem to sell in the $30 to $75 range, and sort of that's how you could try to set yourself with pricing?
Exactly. Try to find one similar to what yours looks like, something dangled, I mean, you can tell, like a Hollycraft can make a very plain Jane one, and they can make a wow one, and you kind of I usually get the highest, the lowest, take a look at them, and,
Okay, well, we typically do auctions, so...
See, I never do auctions. Never.
Okay.
I have gotten stung too many times on the jewelry. I always set a price and then look for offers. And I would prefer to set my price high and let those watchers come through. And then with the eBay, I send the offers out to what I'm willing to
Okay.
accept for it. You'll be much happier that way. You do not want to sell a pin like that for $9.99 just because nobody saw it.
Well,
No,
I wouldn't start it at $9.99.
Yeah, we would definitely, like, if we-
$34.99. We'd probably start it somewhere around 30.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. The way we structure auctions, because when we're always talking to people about how you should do an auction and the right way to do an auction, for us is to always start at what you want as your buy it now.
Right.
So if we did a quick look on that and found that it averaged between $30 and $70, we might say, you know what? we paid $10 for this whole bag lot. We're going to start this at $35. If we make the $35 on it, great. If we happen to be at the lower end, if it happens to be something that people who are Hollycraft are looking for, it might raise itself up a little bit. If it doesn't at the end of the auction, after 7 or 10 days, we just flip it to a buy it now, and we actually usually add 25 to 50% to the price. So we never start auctions at 99 cents or $3 or anything like that. It's just a waste of time. We are going to try something like that with some clothing in the future, but it's a whole new way for us to try and look at something. So, but yeah, as long as you're looking at getting the money back, and I do see a lot of people, I would say probably there's a few auctions that go up on jewelry. So
there are a lot of people. A lot of people do the auctions for jewelry with the precious metals. And so they set it at, X amount, a price, and then they let it go up from there.
So
this is a Celtic piece. It probably says Soldar, Soldor, or
I couldn't see any signatures on it.
Are you sure? No, I don't see any either. Okay, this is called a C-clamp. So you look at the way, let's look at the pin again on the back side. You see how it's just like a hook and it just like slides on underneath there? Yeah. That's considered a C-clamp. So you would want to put that in your listing. But this is a Celtic Thistle pin brooch earring set. So if it doesn't have any markings on it, I'd probably do it for like $24.95 US and look for offers.
Okay.
And that was just one where, and that sort of brings up part of the question because it has clip-on earrings. And that was one of my other questions. Are clip-on earrings worth selling? Clip-on earrings to me, just in my own history, were like, that was what my mom wore because she didn't get pierced ears. And then like when I got my ears pierced, she was like, oh my God, I can't give you any of my earrings. No, she never said that. She just, I guess she could still give me her earrings. And yes, they are easily like convertible to make you look like you're in drag in a second if you're a guy with a clip-on earring. But generally, are clip-on earrings, is there a market for something like that?
Absolutely. I probably sell at least $1,500 worth of clip-on earrings monthly.
Wow.
That's really good to know. And from like all sort of eras, like older
all sorts of eras. And I'll tell you who's one of my biggest buyers are overseas. Russia, China, Germany, and England. Russia and China, for sure.
Now, do you send using the global shipping program or eBay International, or do you do your own
I sometimes use eBay International if it's under $100 order. I generally when my international buyers buy from me, they buy volume. So it's very rare actually when you have I have so many listings up there, and I think that's part of why I'm successful on eBay is because they don't come and buy one piece from me, they come and buy 10, 15. So I am selling it. I usually use stamps or pirate ship, or it depends. Different shippers have advantages to me. I prefer stamps.com.
Are screwbacks the same as clip-ons? They have the same kind of vicinity. So easy.
Although I think clipbacks are more popular than screwbacks.
Screwbacks are actually also a lot older, are they not? Like you don't find screw-ons from the 2000s.
No, you do.
Yeah, okay.
Well, yeah.
Screwbacks are legal torture.
Napier and Monet, what they made like a clip with a screw combo. So
okay, now here's something that we're back to one of Lisa's again, and this actually is something that I've seen. It's the kind of thing that looks so familiar to me as kind of that 60s, 70s, 80s as Davy.
That's exactly where this is from, or whatever. But just as a pendant. So what's the back side of it? And does it say WEISS? Does it say Weiss on it anywhere?
No, it's unmarked.
It doesn't look like it.
Okay. Weiss made something that looked very similar to that. So just a pendant by itself, I probably wouldn't list it. It would probably go in a lot somewhere.
Oh, okay. So 2 winners and a loser.
I'll hang on to it for the next market.
Yeah. Okay. Now this looks like some sort of like a Jasper Stones set in a kind of cheap setting. Let's see the backside. Yeah. So this is like one of these touristy things. Like if you were to have gone out west and gone to Yellowstone and went in the gift shop and, needed to, pick something up. Generally these, $10-ish.
Okay.
This is
Okay.
Monique.
Yeah, that's my Weiss.
So this is your Weiss one?
Yeah, it's a necklace and a bracelet.
Okay, so that's a really nice set. So you got two pieces here. Weiss in white, in clear, is quite easy to obtain. Okay.
In other
The
words, it's
necklace
worthless.
pardon me?
In other words, it's worthless.
No. If I had this set, what I'm trying to say is if you have one piece signed of Weiss, it's worth X amount. So like the necklace, if you were to just have the necklace by itself, and that's a pretty decent looking necklace here, and it looks like it's in good shape, it would probably be worth around $35 US. It used to be worth more. Weiss is kind of out of fashion these days. Okay, but say $35. Because you have the matching bracelet to go with it, the bracelet by itself would probably be about $30. But because you have the two pieces together, that increases the value exponentially.
Wow.
So if I were to list these two pieces together, I would probably list it for like $89.95, $74.95, something like that US. But if you were to take the time to find the matching clip earrings, and you could have just a round, these would be pretty simple to find.
I might have them in the bags.
You might even have them. Then the whole set together, I would probably list for $150.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
So, and then that would be called a parure, P-A-R-U-R-E.
P-A-R-U.
When you have three pieces, this is called a demi parure.
So again, it's one of those things when we talk about, in some cases, toys or collectibles, having the box is something that actually helps you.
Right.
But in the case here, the first step question I've got is when you've got parts, you can get a little more when you've got more of those pieces. So even with that little thing that Rick had, he had earrings and a brooch. So is that normally what happens if you have one item? It's 20, another is 20, but if you got them together, it's 50 instead of 40.
Generally.
Instead of just a pair of earrings for 10 and a pair of another and a brooch for 10, it might be 25 because somebody gets to put their look together with something like that.
Yeah. And Monique, I also want to add too, Weiss was very famous. Like if you had a whole set, they would only label or stamp their name on one of the pieces. So you may have the earrings and it may not even be marked Weiss. And that's very common.
Okay, so then this shouldn't be a matching set then because both the bracelet and the necklace are marked.
They're both marked? Well, that's good. That's good. I mean, because sometimes they are marked, but don't be surprised if Weiss can be unmarked too.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to say. It can be marked and unmarked.
So it doesn't necessarily, they probably are from the same set, even though they're both marked.
Right. Yeah.
Here is another one of Rick's. Much more
glass. Yeah, this is glass, right?
I don't know if they're glass or plastic.
Well, that makes a big difference. If they're glass, I would probably.
No, they're not. They're not heavy enough to be plastic or glass. They're plastic.
So they're plastic or whatever. So this would be listed as an early plastic, and eBay actually has a separate category in jewelry and necklaces for celluloid, Bakelite, early plastics or whatever. So make sure that you would list it in that. And I would say $20, $25 for these or whatever. People like these, especially at summertime. But it's old, I would say mid-century, 1950.
And that's just it. I mean, it's the kind of thing that just because it's plastic and
Right.
it's not, it doesn't necessarily. Obviously, you'd be saying this is not fine. This is costume jewelry. But at least with costume jewelry, even if you aren't a fashionable person and you ain't got an eye for that sort of thing, you can still look at something like that and go, that looks kind of neat. Or even if you don't have any eye at all and you go, God, that looks ugly or gaudy.
It doesn't matter what you think. It matters.
It's not what but that in this particular case, when I said to Rick, well, why don't you put this in? He goes, why? And I was like, because to me, it's funky. It just yells.
Yep.
It screams 60s Mad Men sort of
If you
thing.
listed it up there right away for $19.95, Rick, or best offer, or whatever, you'd sell it right away.
Could
Now,
you
in
tell
terms of measuring the length, do you measure
You
the
unclasp
full
it.
length?
Yeah,
Unfasten?
unclasp it and measure a straight line
Okay.
from one end to the other.
what's your best
That's
way?
actually a really good question because that was one I was having too. It's like when you've got necklaces,
I'm
and all this sort of
clueless.
stuff, is you're
Okay, for the continuous one, that's considered a continuous necklace. No clasp, Greg. So in that case, you would lay it down, measure half of it, and times 2.
Okay, so then I would say like this is a 36-inch necklace.
Right. If it measures 18 inches.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but that,
Do
again,
you
that's,
include-
Continuous, no clasp.
yeah, but at least I'm not like saying it's an 18-inch necklace because I'm thinking it's dropping 18 inches. It's always the full length of whatever it
Full
is.
length
that
of the
you've got.
necklace. Right.
What's
Do you
your best
include the
way?
clasp in your measurement?
Pardon me?
Do you include the clasp in your measurement if
Yes.
you're?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Linda asked the exact same thing.
Yes.
I was wondering your best way of testing Bakelite on a necklace like that.
I have all the tools right by me here. Simichrome.
Simichrome?
Yep.
Okay.
You can buy this on eBay. You can buy this anywhere. All you have to do, and there's YouTube videos on it or whatever, all you have to do is take a little bit and put it on a Q-tip and rub it. And if the piece is Bakelite, it will turn color. This stuff is like a pink, and generally it turns like a dark tan or a brown color. If it's plastic, it'll just stay pink. And it'll be
Okay.
nothing.
So it's an obvious change.
It's an obvious change, yeah.
And we are actually going to do a video for the Kennel Club specifically on that Bakelite test in the next week or so, because we had a couple of things that Rick said, oh, that's nothing. And I said, we're putting this thing in our Max Sold auction, and it's an old folding desk. And I thought the handles were amazing. And I said, there's no way I'm putting this desk in with those handles because I don't want to get $5 for the desk.
Yeah.
And I think the handles are Bakelite. Rick goes, oh, no, we're not going to bother testing them. I took off the handles. We brought it home. We tested them. They are Bakelite handles. I will probably get $50 just for the 4 handles.
Yeah.
So we'll do it. We will do something like that in the Kennel Club. And again, thanks to everybody who is over on the side here. You'll see people who are members of the Kennel Club. It's our little exclusive club that helps support us at Two Dogs Digs. Not only do we we have a little Facebook group that's specific for that at $3.99 a month, but we also have exclusive videos, behind the scenes, and a bunch of other things. So that'll be one of the things that we do there. Carl says, it's a great show. He'll be referring to it often and watching it often. Anne-Marie has a question. Do you think jewelry sells better on a real person or on a stand?
On a stand.
On a stand?
Yep. And I break every rule there is on eBay. I don't use plain vanilla white background. I put my jewelry on a form, on a stand, on a ring. I add props to it to make it interesting. I want people, when they look at they're looking through everybody that says jewelry with white, jewelry with white, jewelry with cream, jewelry with, oh, this one looks different. Let's look over here. It seems to work for me. So, but according to eBay, I break every rule. So
we're going to go a little bit over our normal hour by a few more minutes because we've got a couple more questions and a couple more photos we didn't get to. And I think these are really interesting ones to talk about. This is actually something of Monique's. And I know we personally have one that I found at an estate sale and I grabbed. And we also have my mom's, which is
a charm
bracelets.
Okay, I could look at this one and I would tend to think that the majority of these charms and the bracelet are sterling.
Yep.
Just about every single charm there, if it is sterling, should have a hallmark on it.
Most of them do.
Most of them do. And here's the time where, and some of them may be marked 835, they may be marked 925, they may be marked STER. And this is like when you have charms, the things that increase the value of charms tenfold, maybe not tenfold, but they make them a lot easier to sell, are movable ones, articulated ones.
I've got
several.
several.
Part and the little wheels turn. If you have a chest and it opens up, if you have a chick and it, it's a little head bobs from side.
I remember buying ones like that for my mom, and it was the extra thing I went was when I saw a charm for my mom, and this is when I was like this 40 years ago. I was like, oh, that charm does something. It's like that Cinderella's carriage, the doors open on the carriage, and I was always like that extra. So that's actually a benefit for you on this. Okay.
Sadly, when you have charm bracelets like this, you will realize your most money if you took off each and every charm and you sold each and every charm separately.
That's what I was going to ask you about cleaning them and separating them.
You know what? If you were to clean them, I probably, to separate them, yes, I would do that. You have to, get them off or whatever. To clean them, I would maybe just with a silver polishing cloth versus, the paste or whatever. It wouldn't hurt the value to clean them. They always say don't clean Native American jewelry because then you wipe away the patina and all the value and this, that, and the other thing. But charms, not so much.
Okay.
It's up in the air. I mean, if it was totally black and you can't see the STER, sure, buff it up so you could at least photograph it or whatever.
Okay.
Charms on an average, when I sell them, I get not a whole lot, but they're pretty quick and fast to get up there. You can pretty much get like $10 a charm for a sterling charm. Up to I've had some of the super giant size ones, like sizes of maybe like 50-cent US pieces. I don't know. I'm trying to think in my Canadian brain comparing to your coins or whatever, but selling up for like $40 for like, great big ones. So
there's 20 charms that are on this. So you would suggest,
if you sell it, and some of them are just so, but like the airplane definitely could go separate, the Sweet 13, the little monkey, that looks like a, I bet you that lighter moves.
The lighter moves, the camera moves, the cannon wheels move.
Yeah, all the ones that move. I put those at like $20 US, something like that. You'll get $15 to $20 US for those.
And somebody told me the number 13 means luck in, I forget what country they said, but that's what the number 13, Italy or something.
Well, I think, no, I would just think that's the first year of the teenagers in the States. So that's why, 12, 13, your first year of being a teenager. So that's why.
Could be.
You get it or whatever. But anyway, it's sad that you're tearing it apart because if you sell it together, you would probably only get $100 a quarter for it, depending on the weight. But if you parted it out, you could probably get a couple $100 for it.
Okay, well, it doesn't have sentimental value to me, so taking it apart doesn't bother me.
Yeah. And that's a very fun
pearl as
well.
All
right. This one's an interesting one.
Those are actually quartz.
Those are rose quartz. And if you take a look and they're knotted, and if you take a look at the clasp, I'm going to bet you that clasp is 800 silver with the gold gild over it. So this is a Chinese import or whatever, and that's how you would that's how you would mark it or whatever. I mean, that's how you would write the description for it, and then put the millimeters of the diameter of the quartz and the length. And it might even say silver on the back. Does it say? Do we have a picture of the back of the clasp? Does it say silver on it?
I don't think we have a back of that one.
Huh?
I'm just checking it right now, and it says silver.
There you go. Ding, ding, ding. I've seen these. These are that type of clasp is very easy to spot on a table. They could be cloisonne beads. They could be these types of, just jade beads, lapis beads, rose quartz beads. Those are all pretty easy to flip. $35 US with that type of clasp.
I just got this, Brian. France, 13 was traditionally considered a lucky number in France prior to First World War and was used in numerical form as a good luck symbol on postcards and charm because Google is your friend. Brian's great with finding stuff on Google.
There you go.
So when you go, that's my question, Becky, is you're looking at these sort of things. How fast are you now when you go to a flea market or a garage sale or an estate sale? Are you one of those people who can you're scanning and you saw that one little tiny clasp there and you'd be able to you'd grab it like that knowing how much they are, and I've seen that clasp.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that's a benefit of having years and years of experience.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you think, I've been selling like 6,000 pieces a year. I mean, things just, I don't know. A lot of things have flipped through these fingers here in my eyes here. But how fast do I go? I go fast.
Have you put anything like this through your fingers? This is from Rick's collection.
Ooh.
You know what? When the Supreme Court judge died last year, this would have sold in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Never. We've had it that long. We just
because that's what she wore. That was her signature. And you may even want to, sell it and keyword reference that type of necklace or whatever.
So Ruth Bader Ginsburg style necklace.
Yeah.
It fits our dog. Oh.
He just heard you.
He heard me.
I'm guessing these are faux pearls, right? I'm guessing it's light. I'm guessing it's plastic.
It's very light. It is plastic.
Yeah. But you know what? Because of Ruth or whatever, it'd probably have a market. I can't see what you think for $20 US for it.
Okay.
Is that Doug?
I'm muting him because we're really barking on barking.
Oh, mine's sleep at night.
Back into here. So that was Monique has this cute little, and you actually spotted this immediately when I showed it to you as well, Becky.
Yeah.
Like, this is unbelievable. When I was showing you some of these pictures, like, oh, that's that. That'll say this on the back. That'll say this on the back. It's like,
yeah. So this is a piece that you would probably find. Okay, so I can't really read what that says.
Totem pole.
Okay.
totem pole, sterling, and then something underneath there.
Yeah, with a little arrow or something.
Yeah.
And it is sterling.
Is that Trading Post? That's Trading Post. That's who makes that. I'm looking here. It's hard to tell, but I think that's Bell Trading Post is who makes this. Write that down, Bell Trading Post, and look up on the Google it or whatever.
There is a little bell in the corner. That little blue symbol in the corner is a bell.
So I bet that would is. So this was made by Bell Trading Post. It's a little sterling silver totem pole, probably purchased either up towards Alaska or over by British Columbia, up that way or whatever. So where they sell a lot of Alaskan artifacts up that way or whatever. New on card or whatever. Again, $20 is not uncommon.
Here's a Lisa Scarabish necklace. Scarabish? I don't know if that's a word.
Or whatever. So this is where a proscenium gem tester would come into play. I'm guessing this is set in gold filled. Is it marked GF somewhere? Look on the
only mark is Britain.
Yeah, up on this
look
corner
on
here.
The chain clasp. See if there's anything up there where the hook is for the chain.
As far as I know, there's nothing.
Okay, so
I believe it's actually plastic. The stone.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, that's hard to tell from a picture or whatever.
Yeah.
There's. I would then, if it is plastic or whatever, I would then basically just.
Oh, it might be glass. As I'm banging it on my teeth.
Yeah, that's how I do it too. Welcome to the club. I do that all the time. So it could be glass. So, this would be a piece that if I had my acid and my test, I would rub. This could very well be gold over silver. You don't know.
Oh, okay.
You can't tell. It's made well. So that's what you do. You look at the quality of the piece. How is it made? Is it really cheap? Does it feel substantial? I mean, is it kind of nice looking? I mean, it's got all that engraving on the back. They don't usually do that on the, 5 and dime stuff. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's what I was thinking too. When I saw the Britain, but my thought was like, when I first looked at the picture that Lisa, I literally thought this was the front.
Oh.
No, because I didn't really notice, obviously, the giant pin across the front. That was me being an idiot.
And obviously, this one is a pin brooch necklace. So you have to say that in your listing or whatever. It could very well be an art glass. It could very well be some sort of an agate. If it, it could be. I don't know. So that's more. And there's one thing I do know from seeing all these pieces of jewelry that flip through my fingers on a week-to-week basis. every week there's 3 or 4 new names that I have never heard of pop up. I have never seen a piece with the name written on the back. So
Have you seen a piece that's a rabbit's foot attached to a deer's head that's on a tie clip?
I have one of those. It's not a rabbit foot.
That belongs on a Scottish kilt. That is a pheasant's foot, I believe.
Yeah.
And it is Celtic, and generally they're in sterling. So, and generally, value-wise, $30-$35, because that one looks like it's in very good shape. And that a grouse pin, that's it. That's what it is. Grouse. Okay.
Wow.
Grouse and pheasants, aren't they kind of related? Kind of, a little bit. I don't know. But anyway.
Yes, we'll do a couple. There's a quick one that Rick has, and then this is the front of this ring he has. And this is always one of the things.
On the inside, on the shank. That looks just like a plated 18 karat HGE electroplated with rhinestones and possibly an onyx in it, but you'd have to test it. It's very common. They would have onyx even in the, the.
So with something like that, is this just something you just go, you know what? If I can get $10 for something, if you've got a bag full of stuff like this and you don't have the time or inclination to do the measuring and the magnets and the dipping and the fishing and the flossing and the wishing and the wash, like, do you just go, you know what? If this looks pretty nice, $10, $10. Is that kind of
that? I usually separate my quote unquote costume rings in 2 different types. One type of costume ring, and sadly this would probably go into the one. I would group them in a lot. I always buy like little displays, and I fill it up with like 42 rings, and I'll sell the 42 rings for like $125.
Oh, okay.
I sell them in group. I just sold one this morning. I listed it last night for $129, and I sold it today for $126. Boom, fast.
Okay. Well, and again, if you're not,
or if I think that the ring is nice enough to fly on its own, I'll list it for $19.95 and get $15 for it.
Okay, no, and I think that's actually a really good sort of guidance for some people too. It's like there are people who are going to do more and dig into things a little bit more. And
it's not worth my time to list something for $10.
Yeah, and even on the separation side of things, being able to start going, okay, I've got costume, I've got fine jewelry, I'm starting to, and now what I know has got names on it and things along those lines. Right. At least from that standpoint, it's, I think, giving people a better grasp on, okay, here's the way to start with stuff, and then pull that good stuff, pull that name stuff, the stuff that's marked gold, the stuff that has names first. Look at that, spend your time on that. Right. Maybe if there's something that is, again, something you're just not exactly sure of, that's where you want to go to the complete reseller and call out Becky, or go into the thrifting board, or go onto the Kennel Club and go, hey, somebody help me with this, because I'm not sure if this is a $10 thing or if I should do more with something like that. And I think that's...
And also, I just want to throw out there, when I'm doing a lot of this research or whatever, don't go down the rabbit's hole and waste hours, days. I read sometimes, I've researched all day. It's like, really? We think it's going to be a $20 piece. You spend 5-10 minutes on it. Google is your friend. Google it. If it's not popping out in your face, especially if it's a named piece and you know the name, odds are, put it up there for what you think its intrinsic value is, what somebody's willing to pay. I mean, you could put it up there for, $1 million, and if nobody buys it, what good is it?
Yeah, and the good thing about jewelry is it's small. It doesn't take up tons and tons of space. So if you are investing in it, it's something that can take up a smaller amount of space versus, I don't know, deciding that you want to buy extremely large things like Peggy, Jason's mom, does, and then says, well, I only bought 5 of those blow molds to put in my living room temporarily. It's like, if you can have jewelry and have 100 pieces of it and have it in a nice small place. I have 4,300 within this little room that I'm at right here, right now. So I'm just going to show one quick thing before we say goodbye to everybody, just to show you this is a surprise. This was something that, like, Rick, I showed this happened to be something that Rick had, and Becky looked at it, and this is what I think is perfectly like the typical, oh, this has got to be just a giant piece of crap. This is a pair of plastic things. and the very first thing you said on it was, "Oh, that's Trifari." It's like I wouldn't even know to look at a pair of plain old white earrings and think
Safari is very hot. If I had those right now, I'd list them for $19.95 and sell them for $15 in a heartbeat. US.
So it can be big, it can be little, it can be really blingy, it can be ugly, it can be parted out, it can be put into crafting things. I actually didn't get a chance, but I've seen people who've made some amazing framed portraits out of broken jewelry.
Right. That's who buys your broken stuff.
And that's who buys your broken stuff.
So so there you go.
There's a lot of market out there, so it's all about. Claire's got a question: how high can you go on a really nice piece of costume jewelry?
I just listed a piece today for $1,995.
So Claire, you can go to $2,000.
It was a Chanel piece that I basically got for nothing, and I had it authenticated, so I know it's a real one.
Perfect. That's sparkly earrings can sell to crafters. Yeah, it's really easy to ship. Know the name.
And you know what? I believe I gave Craig a website that maybe he could post up somewhere of a very good reference. If you have a signature on that, that's it right there. So that's a very good one to go. It's like if you have like the Holly Craft, if you would click on the H and then you would search down for Holly Craft, and then you would be able to find out more about that company and possibly date it a little bit, or whatever.
And I just put the link beside here as well, which is costumejewelrycollectors.com.
I go to this one frequently.
So yeah, it's actually something I'm going to try and take a little bit of a look at now as well. So I do want to say a gigantic thanks. We're over 15 minutes. A gigantic thanks to Monique and Lisa and Rick for actually bringing some of their little finds. And from the sounds of it, the three of you have. Hi, Georgette. I see you in the background. And it looks like from even this alone,
everybody's got
each have like $150 to $200 or more. I mean, Monique, you got a charm bracelet that's going to go for like a couple $100 on its own. So it doesn't take a lot to make you $15, $20, $25. And even if you can list some of those things, what I'm dying to know is with the things that we saw, I want to check back with you guys in a month, and I want to find out, Monique, Lisa, and Rick, what you've listed and what you've sold, because Becky's going to be interested in it too. You might have to rewatch to get the amounts that she said, but if you do, it's okay. It's just another view.
No putting it back in the bag, huh?
No putting not those. There's not very much there, so don't put that back.
Yep. Focus in on, say, maybe take half a dozen pieces. Focus on those. Get those up, and then dig in another half a dozen.
The bad thing is that some of that jewelry belongs to me, and she's.
Keep your eye on what she's got there, and then split the profits.
She'll be going through my whole jewelry box now.
Well, I'm gonna just pop Monique. Thank you. I'm gonna you can stay if you're around and want. Lisa and Rick, I'm gonna pop the three of you out because I just want to again say what a great thanks to Becky. This has been unbelievable in terms of the amount of information that you have at the tips of your fingers. That is literally blown. I know it's blown me away. It looks like it's blown half our audience away as well. And it's so thank you again for this. I think what I'd love to do, even in like 6 months or so, or a few months, is come back and go, let's focus on like one specific jewelry kind of item, and then chat more with you. And we can find some people who've got some of that stuff in their profit piles and learn a little bit more about how to do that thing with one thing. So, because we had tons of questions on the side there that were like, how do you do this? What do you do this with it? So it might be about just talking about costume jewelry, or it might be about talking about gold or something along those lines. And I know what I'm going to do is I have a set of pearls downstairs and I have some sandpaper in the basement. So I'm going to get the sandpaper from the basement, try that on the tooth I know is still there, and then try the pearls on it as well.
Or sandstone. Go outside. You got any rocks or pebbles outside that's sandstone? Same thing. So
I just rub it on the sandstone, and what happens?
No.
I rub my teeth on the
sandstone. I can't. A very tiny Oriental woman taught me that like eons ago, and I'm like, really? And she's like, oh yes. And
Just
she also
take it
got,
and
she also got
I'm
also
gonna
give you
try it.
another tip with pearls or whatever. If your pearls are a little bit, they're knotted and they're a little bit loose or whatever, she told me to put them in very, very hot water or whatever, and
Okay.
bring it up and let them dry, and they shrink, and that works.
Well, another tip that I never would have known of. So
I know.
thanks so much, jewelry. I haven't got a right
I know.
name for
Whatever.
you, Jewelry Maven. And take a look at Becky's store if you happen to want to see some of the stuff and maybe take a look at that $1,950 costume jewelry piece that she just put up. What's your store on eBay?
It's a Ziggy's Vault.
Ziggy's Vault. I'm gonna see if I can pop that on if I can find here. So do my search here, advanced search, and by seller, and I will show only items from Ziggy's Vault. See if it actually lets me look stuff up here.
Actually, I'm pretty fortunate. If you do a Google search and you just type in Ziggy's Vault, I'm the first thing that pops
That
up.
might actually work because it. There we go. Actually, you're completely right. There we go. Check out Ziggy's Vault. Click on there, and Ziggy's Vault in eBay stores.
You know you've made it when you're number one on Google, right?
You know that you got 1,600 followers too.
Yeah.
And let's take a look at one of the things they'll end it with, her highest listings. And here is.
There it is. There's my belt. I just did that.
This is the $1,999 Chanel France horse motif triple chain camellia medallion belt. Excellent condition. 1980s. Oh my goodness.
Yep. There it is. And I got the matching necklace is the second highest.
It is. It's there at 1,500.
There it is.
Talk to your friends. Tell them they need one of these things.
They need it. They need it.
Maybe Becky will give you like $5 off if you mention.
There you go. Yeah. Yep.
So thanks again, Becky. Thanks so much for this really informative, really dig deep through. And now again, we're making Rick do this. You know this. You know Mr. Rick. You see,
I'm watching you
now. This is not even a 1/100th of what he's got. So you better list those things, baby, or I'll sick Becky on you. Thanks again. Thanks everyone for joining us here on the Two Dogs Digs on our live hall pass on Tuesday nights. Give us a thumbs up. Hopefully you enjoyed it and you learned a little bit here tonight. And we'll see you hopefully next Tuesday at our next hall pass, which is all going to be what's sold in the month of April. And watch for the Kennel Club. There's going to be a new pop culture for resellers come out exclusively on the Kennel Club at the end of this week. I'm Bad Dog. I'm out of here.